the ownership of the company is essentially divided up amongst the employees, and they get what would effectively be a retirement plan in ownership of the company.
Welcome to Jobbers Masters of Home Service, a podcast for home service pros by home service pros. We are in sunny Las Vegas, and today we're talking about how to inspire your team. I'm Adam Sylvester. Today's guest is Danielle Rossi. She's the CFO of the Tree Lady Company in Florida. Welcome to the show, Danielle.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here.
Tell our audience who you are, what you do, all that kind of stuff.
So I am the CFO at the Tree Lady Company. We are a tree care service in Winter Haven, Florida. Our primary focus is on preservation. So we really focus on keeping trees healthy, structurally sound, new verbiage in the industry, architecturally sound.
Okay.
We really work to educate the community on proper tree care, trying to get the right tree in the right spot anytime new ones go in, and just really focusing on preservation as much as we can.
Awesome. Great. Well, I love tree care, so let's get into it. So one thing I know about you, Danielle, is that you love your people.
I love
and you
them.
care about them.
Yes.
You want the best for them. And so honestly, that doesn't come as natural to some of our listeners, including myself. And so I care, but I think you care very naturally. And you've also flexed this muscle and you've developed this. And so how do you go about this? How do you enhance your employees' performances in a caring way? Let's start there.
So I think the care comes first. I've been thinking about the concept of it not coming naturally for people, because I do believe that it comes a little more naturally to me than most. I think a lot of times business owners focus on how to make people behave in the way they want them to behave, right? So what I have found over the last 10 years is that when you are caring about your employees in a way that they know you care more about them than production, they push themselves to the limits. They push themselves so that you're not really having to go and nitpick and make adjustments in their behavior. They want to be what you need them to be when they know that you care about them first and foremost.
One thing I'm guessing you're very aware of is that employees will put up with a lot of crap.
Yes.
If they know you care.
Absolutely.
Not necessarily your crap, but organizational friction and frustrations and job site annoyances and all that. They will put up a lot if they know that you care.
You are absolutely right on that. And especially in my field, we're a tree care business. So we are in the heart of Florida. So it's hot and it's challenging and it's rainy, and we have, tons of disadvantages in our specific area that make even the tree care industry a little bit harder. Them knowing that I care about them pushes them to want to make sure that each day they're going out and they're accomplishing the challenges that are in front of them in situations where I wouldn't even force it. So they don't call to say, "Hey, it's raining, can we come in?" Because they know they want to get it done, because they know I need them to get it done so that we hit our budgets and we hit our goals. And caring about them first creates loyalty that can't be bought. You can't pay someone to be loyal to your business. I think the way that you generate that loyalty is by being loyal to them as well, and caring about them as people, not just tools to get your job done.
Yeah, how do people, practically speaking, how do they know that you care, Danielle? What are some practical things that you do on a day-to-day basis?
I force it on them.
I tell them.
I tell them? No, I don't tell them. I show them in every situation. I utilize what I call proactive empathy. So in our lives, you have the opportunity to respond to situations, and you can respond with empathy or without empathy. I use it proactively. So when I see that one of my guys is coming in and he looks a little off, I don't just think, "Oh man, I hope he's not sick. I hope he comes in tomorrow." I will go up to him and I'll say, "Hey, what's wrong? Are you sick? Are you okay? How are you feeling?
You're not looking so good."
You're not looking so good. And now they know not to be offended when I say that. They know it's coming from a place of care. It is my duty as a business owner to solve any problems that come my way. And some of the time that is scheduling conflicts, or that's being down employees. I would much rather proactively choose to give someone the day off because they need it than to have them call in the next day when I probably already knew that they weren't going to be here the next day. So I make it my responsibility to make calls that sometimes aren't easy for them to make. Most of my guys are hourly. So if they choose to take off the next day, I trust that they know that that's the best call for themselves. I had a guy recently that is one of my most loyal on my team, and it turned out his wife was in the hospital, and he had not mentioned anything to me. He was just afraid to share that because he didn't want to make it my burden. And he came in, one of his fellow teammates mentioned to me what was going on, and I actually got into essentially a screaming match with him over taking time off because he knew that at the time he was my only CDL driver and he was the only one I could rely on. And we made some people uncomfortable. We got into a little bit of a screaming match and I told him, this is my burden to carry. I have to figure out how to get this job done without you. I have to figure out how to keep our schedule moving this week, not you.
Yeah.
You need to go home and be with your wife and be with your family and let me do my job. We had it out.
That's a very good problem to have. I mean, that's
yes. I care for them aggressively at some points.
Well, it sounds like they care about you too. I mean,
absolutely.
It's reversed too.
Yes.
So I think one of the best ways that I personally care for my people is I listen.
Yes.
I think a lot of people aren't used to bosses listening.
Yes.
I think that they're used to being told what to do. They're used to being cut off, interrupted. I don't care what you think. Your opinion doesn't matter. Your idea doesn't matter. Yes. This is what we're going to do. This is what we're going to do. And listen to me, listen to me. And so as soon as you close your mouth and just listen to people, that the very first thing people describe that is like he must care if he's listening.
Absolutely. And on that, I couldn't agree more. I am committed to always being there for my team if they need someone to talk with, whether it is work related or if it's something that they're struggling with that is impacting their headspace at work. Because as noted, we work in a very dangerous industry and having one of my guys distracted by life is riskier and a much greater challenge for the business than simply not having him there that day. I think a lot of owners and businesses rely on the open door policy, which in my opinion is not nearly enough. I think that it is a huge challenge for employees to come to business owners with struggles that they're facing. They don't think that there is traditionally a space for their issues to be heard. So I talk with my employees every day, at the start of the day, at the end of the day. If I notice anything that's off with them, I'll say, hey, is everything okay? And they know that it is coming from a place of concern and care, and they absolutely reciprocate. And I believe, the most loyal team in the country. I mean, I can count on them in anything.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, this makes me think of my parents.
Yeah.
Growing up, my parents would say, Adam, we don't care how bad it is.
Bring it.
You can always call us and we won't overreact. We're promising you now, today, that no matter how bad it is.
Yeah.
And sure enough, in my wild teenage years and the police were involved, I felt comfortable calling my parents and telling them how bad it was because they had promised me. And you know what they didn't do? They didn't overreact. And so I think in the business world, as the leader of my business and you the leader of yours, I think it's important that we set a stage that our employees feel comfortable. They feel like we're approachable.
Yes.
And so even if they have the worst news ever, and you and I have gotten a lot of bad news over the years, haven't we? But we have to be approachable. The last thing we want is for them to think, I can't tell Adam that. He's not going to understand. He's going to blow up at me.
Absolutely. And one of the things that I focus on in my business is I want to build better people, not just better employees for our company. So sometimes that presents itself as them planning a future change.
Yeah, let's talk about that. How do you help your employees develop, and how do you develop them into new career paths and all that kind of stuff?
I would love if they keep the same career path, but I make it very clear to them that I am here to support them as people. And I want them to grow and thrive within our business and outside of our business, should that be the path that they take. One of the most important things when I'm looking to hire new people is I want to know that they have the ability to be passionate about something. So one of my interview questions, I always ask, what are you passionate about outside of work? And I want to know that money is not their passion because our passions are so much more than that. And we have such a bigger vision that we're working toward. So I want to make sure that the people that we bring in align with that. And I continue that conversation once they are employed with us. So I've got one employee, his passion is Dungeons and Dragons. So I make sure every Thursday he is in by 4:00 so that he can get to his D&D campaign. Yeah. I have another guy that his passion is antique book sales. And he made some merch. I bought a shirt from him. And, I make sure when he's got events coming up that he is comfortable to ask me for a half day if needed to prepare for that. I make sure that I'm continuing the conversations so that they feel comfortable sharing it with me. Same goes for internal passions and goals. I make sure that if they are passionate about the tree care industry, I am finding and then pursuing opportunities for them to be exposed to the industry. And, we just recently took our guys to a TCC event in March, and they got to see all of the climbing competitors. And that was really inspiring for them to see people that are doing the same thing they're doing every day in a competitive fashion. So we try to support them in whatever those passions are.
I love the question you asked them, like, tell me what your passions are outside of work. If they can't answer that, or you feel like it's a boring answer, or worse, you have to draw it out of them, that's why you interview.
Yes.
That's not a good person. Don't try to, even if you're desperate, that, if they don't answer that well, that's a great way to weed out the people who just, because if that question's hard, then every time you ask them a question when they're working, it's just gonna be blah.
Absolutely.
That is one of any other questions that you ask on the interview? I'm curious.
I have a lot of questions that I've worked to tailor. Two of my favorite are questions that I simply throw out to throw them off their feet a little bit. The first, I ask, if you had any superpower, what would it be?
Okay.
And I find in our industry, we get a lot of super speeds, which tells me that they're, achievement motivated and they like to get things done and like to go quickly. And flying, I get a lot of that. Those people don't like to be micromanaged. So
Interesting.
Yes. I have only had one person answer invisibility and...
Don't hire them.
He didn't get it hired. So the other question that I like to ask is, if you had two teleportation devices, where would you want them to go? It's a great one. I get a lot of family-oriented responses that tell me, this person will regularly be traveling to go visit family out of state. Or one of my guys, he is sort of to himself a lot. And his answer was that he would put one on the moon. And I cannot tell you how clearly that depicts the personality that he has on the job site. And it helps me to know he's not upset if he's off to himself. He just appreciates alone time,
He's in his happy place.
He's in his happy place, yeah. So I also like to ask people about a time at work where their integrity has been tested. That is the hardest question that I have to offer. It is horrible to answer. I know that.
Yeah.
When someone answers that honestly, I know that they are willing to be honest with me and they're willing to be transparent. And that's who I'm looking for. I'm not looking for the best interviewer. I am looking for someone who will be real with me and who can communicate with me openly, because I am a very open communicator and I try to be honest, I try to be helpful, and I'm looking for someone who can reciprocate that when I'm looking to bring them in.
Okay, so communication is one of my passions. I want to talk about it now because it's so important, especially in developing your people and everything. And how do you make sure you communicate well with your team? And communication is a two-way street. How do you make sure that they communicate with you effectively as well?
Your note about listening, I think, is the most important. I know that this is an unreasonable ask for most business owners, but myself personally, I will stay until the conversation is over. So if one of my employees has a need that comes to the table, if it's 5:15 or 6:45 and we're talking about it and trying to break down and discuss solutions for it, I do not end that conversation until it's over. People like to see those who lead by example. So because I am willing to be open with them and communicate in the good times and bad, it creates a space where they feel comfortable to respond in the same way. So I think just leading by example is how I get them to communicate effectively, because they know that I'm willing to talk about difficult things and work through difficult things as a team instead of just, sorry, that sucks.
Yeah.
They know that I'm on their side.
Danielle, this is a great conversation. I'm going to pause it for a minute so we can talk about Jobber and why we like Jobber so much. What's your favorite feature about Jobber?
It's hard to give one favorite feature about Jobber. I truly love Jobber, not just for the service that they offer, not just for their product, which is fantastic, but one of my favorite things about Jobber is how much the Jobber team cares about their clients. It's not just about selling a product to their client. It is about building them up as leaders and trying to support their growth within whatever industry it is that they cover. I greatly appreciate the communication with our clients. I never come across a situation where a client did not know we were coming out, didn't know what time to expect us. There is so much communication that I don't have to pay someone to do. So I think that the client communication is fantastic.
Yeah, I agree. I think chat support, like you said earlier, is great. They really care about their users. Yes. I just love online booking.
Yes.
We've been using online booking since it came out. We've booked lots of jobs through it over the last 8-10 months, and it's a game changer. Love online booking. And you can have access to all these features as well. You can go to jobber.com/podcast deal, get an exclusive discount for new users, and start taking advantage of all the features that Jobber has to offer. We're talking about helping our employees find meaning in their work. We want people to come to work and enjoy it.
Yes.
And so one of the best ways to end that is by having really bad communication among employees. And so an employee says this, the other person says, and then they come to you and, Danielle, guess what so-and-so said to me? Whoa.
Yes.
Have you talked to them about this yet? Right?
Yes.
Am I a babysitter? We're adults here. We're adults, right? How do you handle those kinds of situations?
Well, the moment that it's brought to me, I bring both of them into my office and I say, hey, something's up. Let's talk about it. And by that point, I usually have already received each individual side. Always incredibly uncomfortable, but they know that they have a mediator that can help identify where the breakdown has happened and move forward, because it creates safety concerns having those simple miscommunications that meant nothing can suddenly break down the communication for weeks on end. Sure. So if you spend that little bit of time to say, hey, something's wrong and we need to identify what's wrong and move past it, we're all just people coming to work. Nobody, at least in my company, is out to get the next guy. Everybody's out there doing a hard job, doing their best, and usually it's a miscommunication. Usually it's something simple that just has to be talked about.
If Masters of Home Service has been a game changer for you and your business, then we want to hear from you. Go leave us a review and tell us what you think. Help us build this community and level up together. I think our listeners will agree with this, what I'm about to say, because they're going to instantly recognize it. I think out of all the EQ abilities people have, all the touchy-feely team player qualities in the workplace, communication is at the bottom of the list with people. And so most people, by default, in our industries are really poor communicators.
Yes.
They don't know how to deal with conflict. They don't know what to do when someone says something they don't like.
Yeah.
They don't know how to respond to someone who did something that was inappropriate or unethical. They just don't understand. They don't know how to do it.
So they don't.
So they
just
don't,
do nothing.
and it festers. And then a month later, they come to me and they blow up. And you wouldn't believe what goes on behind your behind your back. And so I found that just coaching our team and developing them into becoming better communicators sets them up for being better boyfriends, being better fathers, being better dad, husbands and friends.
Absolutely.
Outside the workplace.
Yes, we do a lot of that. We do a lot of safety training. Our Wednesday morning meetings are traditionally safety-based meetings, but at least once a month, we try to throw in something that is communication-based. Our communication exercise is my favorite. Always have fun, always have a great time, and always leave it realizing you don't know what the other person is seeing. You don't know what their perspective is. So you might be looking at the situation that they're in and saying, well, this is the clear answer. But in reality, they've got a completely different view than you. And you're both right, or you're both wrong.
Right.
Or you just have to kind of get your perspectives on the same level and be on the same page. The way we do it, take all the dry erase markers, have someone in your office draw 10 pictures, different colors, different size markers, as much variety as you can get in it is great. And team up. So you've got one person who draws and one person who describes the drawing, and they have to only verbally explain what they're seeing on this page. You would be blown away by the things that come out of it. I mean, it is such an excellent exercise for two people, especially when they're fighting. My favorite to team them up when they're fighting.
I bet you love hearing those two.
Oh, I love it. It's my favorite. And they always end up realizing their perspective is a little off. I like to put a little bit of money on the line. It doesn't take much money, but I'll tape $10 to our dry erase board, and they'll fight it out on who can communicate most effectively to get that picture just right. And for weeks after we do that exercise, every time I find that the miscommunications that can come up are many fewer, and it's a really helpful exercise to have a little fun, but also help the crew to remember that you got to talk about it. You have to communicate.
To piggyback that, I love saying, hey, John, quickly, tell me what Sam's thinking right now.
Yeah. Oh, I like that.
I can't read their mind. Exactly. And so when you communicate, you actually have to use words.
You need those
to explain the things you're thinking. And we all laugh and move on, but we all know it's so true.
Yes.
Okay, so another way that you can inspire teams, something you've talked about, is making your business like an employee-owned business.
Yes.
What does that mean? Tell us about that.
I actually only learned about this last May, I think it was. I went to a business conference that shed light on the employee stock ownership program. A lot of businesses in Florida have become ESOPs is the common term. And it is an option where the ownership of the company is essentially divided up amongst the employees, and they get what would effectively be a retirement plan in ownership of the company. And I know that our business could not run without every person that I have on my team right now. And I think that they're as deserving of the benefit of this business as I am.
Yeah.
And I think it's something that really inspires and creates loyalty, because if the business fails, they're losing their,
Sure.
what they've worked for. So it's something that I've seen a lot of success with in traditionally mid-sized to larger businesses, but my goal is to become an ESOP and allow the people that I have working with me to have as much benefit and ownership of this company as I do.
What are the steps to start that off? Like you need a lawyer or what?
There are lawyers that specialize in these types of programs, so it's best to research in your area who is best fit to help you with the process. There are certain monetary figures you have to hit, certain profit margins you have to hit, also a certain number of employees. So if I recall correctly, I think you have to have a minimum of 18 employees. They're looking for diversity. So if you have 14 of your sons running your business, unfortunately, you would not qualify. Yeah. It is a process that you apply for, and there are specialists who can help guide you and tell you about the steps. As our business is formatted now, my co-owner is looking to retire in the relatively near future, and I have seen that a lot of businesses choose that as the out. So when someone is looking to exit or sell the business, they become an ESOP, and the current owner is able to sell to essentially a trust holder, and they sort of oversee everything. And then the ownership division is spread out in different portions. So if you have some employees that have been there longer, obviously they might get a higher portion. And then other employees who come on after you become an ESOP may have to work there X amount of time to get a percentage. But it's something that really creates loyalty and security, long-term security for your employees.
Yeah, that sounds great. Cool. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
As we wrap up, I'm curious, any other final takes for making sure that you inspire your team? Especially for those out there who are, it does come naturally. Any final ideas for them?
Proactive empathy inspires loyalty, and loyalty is what inspires performance. So instead of saying, these are the changes you need to make, look within yourself, check that out, make sure that you're being the best version of yourself for your employees, and creating a space where they do feel comfortable coming to talk to you. And remember that you're the boss. When things work, when things don't work, you're the one who is sailing the ship. And it's so important to put your employees first, and they'll put you first.
That's so true. We could talk about that for an hour. Your business is a garden, and you're the gardener.
Absolutely.
If you don't like the garden, then who do you look at? The person in the mirror. Danielle, this is a really great conversation. I really appreciate all your insight. I'm going to try to boil it down to 3 actionable items here. Number 1 is listen. Listen to your people. Don't interrupt. Don't assume. Don't cut them off. Don't say, we're doing it my way or the highway. Listen. They might have good ideas. They might have problems they need to bring to you. Listen to your people. 2 ears and 1 mouth. Number 2 is foster work-life balance and passions outside of work. Your people are people. They're not just workers. And so they have things to do outside of work. Sometimes they might need to leave early. Sometimes they might want to work 4 long days and then take Friday off. Who knows? But make sure that your people are enjoying life outside of work. Number 3 is deal with conflict. You might need to be a mediator if there's 2 people that are fighting. But teach your team how to communicate in an effective, appropriate, and professional way. Danielle, thanks for being here. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
That was great. So how do people find out more about you?
So we can be found at thetreeladycompany.com and at The Tree Lady Company on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok.
I think you're just doing tremendous work in your company. I think you care about your people. You're building them up. You're developing. You're empowering them. Keep up the good work. The work you do matters. So keep it up.
Thank you so much.
And thank you. I hope you heard something that will make your business more profitable and more efficient and create a better culture for your team. I'm Adam Sylvester, your host. You can find me at adamsylvester.com. Your team and your clients deserve your very best, so go give it to them.